Bar spins are an iconic BMX trick that I had a ton of trouble learning. This how-to covers technique, step-by-step instructions, and troubleshooting to help you consistently land bar spins. You don't need to know any tricks outside of the bunny hop for hop bars, however, I wouldn't skip fundamentals to learn them as fast as possible. I recommend having hop 180s and 3s down. Ideally, you can bunny hop around 3 feet high and are able to hop wheel height without bending your legs. While not necessary, you might also find it helpful to know how to do pickup bars. This trick requires confidence. You may get a small amount from wearing pads and a helmet. I recommend having your seat up at least a full handful to have something to pinch. As you start to get better at bars, your style and technique will evolve, but this will give you a good foundation. The trick is a hop, pinch, and throw. Each step is simple, but timing and technique are crucial. A big part of the bar spin is the pinch. For consistent bars, the bike should be stable during the throw. For foot position, I drop my front foot heel and back foot toe down. My feet are tight to the cranks. For leg position, I keep my front leg straight and back leg slightly bent. I point my knees forward with my calves touching the back part of the seat. For body position, I have my butt back to keep my knees away from the bars, but I keep my chest forward to keep my center of gravity balanced on the bike. When I pinch, I try to press my calves together. The pinch isn't just trying to touch my knees together or just my feet together. Both my feet and knees pinch to sandwich the bike into place. There's a spectrum of release points for the throw. On one side, there's a bus driver. This is where one hand remains on the bars at all times throughout the throw. This motion feels the safest while learning. However, you can jam your fingers if you land before releasing. On the other side of the spectrum, you toss the bars as soon as possible. These rotate faster, but are less controlled. As you start to throw, try to figure out what feels best for you. The throw is a small circle. I grab the bars with my entire hand and throw in towards myself to start the rotation. I don't use a huge amount of force when throwing. My hand stays in the same plane as the bars as they rotate. After I let go of the bars, my throwing hand continues to follow the bars around. The throwing motion is the catching motion. It's a singular movement. For a normal bar spin, you throw the bars towards your front foot, which may feel awkward at first, but should become more comfortable as you practice. A critical part of hop bars is timing. I don't wait to be at the peak of my hop to throw. I throw as soon as I open the space for my bars to come around. I visualize this space as a box. The outline of the box is created by my upper body, legs, frame, and bars. I have enough space to throw when all these angles are roughly square. If you have a really slow or low hop, this space is going to open later, which will prevent you from throwing before you start coming down. If you have an explosive hop, you will be able to open up space to throw much sooner. The longer the space is open, the longer you'll have to throw and catch. Bar spins get easier the higher you hop. However, they also become scarier. Try to hop as high as you can while still committing to pinching and throwing. When you're starting out, I recommend the following tips to make learning easier. First, I recommend limiting your ankle and foot movement when you hop. For a regular bunny hop, your toes extend as you jump. With bar spins, try to keep your feet locked in place from before you hop until you throw. Second, I recommend pinching before you hop and staying pinched until the throw. Once you throw, your focus shifts to catching and landing, but everything should stay tight throughout. There's a lot going on when you throw a bar spin, and starting out with your legs pinched will make it easier to get into the position to throw once you're in the air. Third, try to stay somewhat stiff when you hop. As soon as you hop, you want to get into your throwing position. Ideally, you're able to throw while still headed up, as this makes catching much easier. Finally, I recommend keeping your throwing hand on until you pass 90 degrees. This can help with clearing your knees, bike stability, and catching. Once you break 90, you can almost throw the bars up a small amount, which can help keep the bike level. As you progress, you will find your own style, but these tips will speed up your learning process. At a base level, here are the steps for a throw when starting out. Get into position with your feet and knees pinched. Keep your legs locked in and hop. Open enough room for the bars. Throw in a circle. Continue to follow around for a catch. The steps I would use for hop bars and pickup bars are very similar. You might want to rush through these steps, but committing an hour to each will greatly reduce the time it takes you to learn bars. Before trying a hop bar, you should practice the throwing motion by propping your bike against anything and throwing. Try different release points and adjusting your body position over the bike. When you actually do a bar spin, your body position will dictate whether your arm is straight or bent when you throw. Do some double bars to work on tracking and getting your throwing hand back in place. Before I do any bars for the day, I still do a few warm-up throws to make sure the hands are working. To me, this motion doesn't feel that similar to a hop bar because there are so many more arm movements during the hop, but the muscle memory and hand-eye coordination are still key. The next step is to practice your hop and pinch. Begin by riding along with your feet and legs pinched together, keeping your weight back. Have your calves touching the fat part of the seat. This is the same body position you'll have when you throw. Do a bunny hop while keeping everything knees down in the same exact pinch position. Focus on keeping your foot movement muted to keep the bike locked into place. Pop your bunny hop by using quick and explosive movements. Most of the pop should be coming from your legs. Limit your upper and lower body movement so you can get into the throwing position earlier. If you can hop around 15 to 20 inches, you should be in a solid spot. The higher, the better. I also prefer to keep my front wheel up during the hop to give myself a bit more time for the throw. Once you can pinch comfortably, you can start doing one-handers and no-handers. All you need is a small release from the bars. The bike should be stable when you let go. If it isn't, change up your lean or leg position until they start to lock in. The last step is to check that you are opening the space up to throw without hitting your knees. Do the same hop and pinch as before, but add a small bar turn to see if you have enough room for the bars to clear your knees. Try to see how quickly you can open enough space and begin to turn the bars. If you are hitting your knees, try to lean back or level the bike out more before turning the bars. Once you are consistently able to clear your knees, you are ready to throw your first bar spin. Find an area where you are comfortable throwing. Grass, dirt, or playground padding may give you a confidence boost, but keep in mind these surfaces will kill your height. Hop, just like you did for the no-hander and bar twitches, but commit to throwing the bars into yourself. This process can be really frustrating as throwing is a big mental hurdle to overcome. Your first few tries, you will likely step off or throw the bike away from yourself. Try to keep your movements small and controlled. Focus fully on keeping your feet locked in and staying on the bike. The pinch for your hop bar should feel identical to the pinch for your no-handers. If they don't feel the same, do a few no-handers until you can fully commit to pinching when you actually throw. Once you start throwing, you'll eventually land one. It probably won't be clean, but it will be a bar spin. When you start to throw your bars, you're probably going to run into some major issues with your form like I did. On a fundamental level, you have to commit to throwing the bars to progress. This is not a trick you're accidentally going to land without committing. If you're immediately taking your feet off the pedals and throwing the bike away, you're not going to get feel for the actual trick. Do some small no-handers until you can work up your confidence. When you actually go to throw, do the same hop, but throw the bars very lightly into yourself so your bike lands level and you stay on your pedals. You might fly off the back. To fix that, stay over the bars and don't stand up halfway through the throw. That pushes the bike away from you and causes your weight to be too far back. If you are throwing X up, dedicate some time to pick up bars and doing one-handers until you can throw one hand at a time. Once you start throwing and landing on your pedals, you will actually start to progress and you might start to land a few bar spins. A common issue you might run into is hitting your knees in the bars. To fix that, do bar turns to feel out your timing. If your bike is rocking a significant amount, really focus on pinching throughout the bar spin. If you don't pinch enough, your bike can wobble, causing your seat to push your front foot off the pedals. Similarly, if you don't have enough weight in your front foot, you might have to backpedal when you land. To fix backpedaling, focus on locking your front ankle so that when you land, it takes an equal amount of the impact. Your bike might be nosediving when you throw. This can happen when you throw down or when you throw directly across your body. Throwing across puts the bike in a position similar to a toboggan. Really focus on throwing directly in towards yourself and making a circle with your throwing hand. If you're having a hard time with getting your catching hand back on the bars, try to focus on your grips coming around and commit to slapping your catching hand down. I don't like to focus on my stem or crossbar because it looks like a blender. For me, it's much easier to track my grips. Once you are relatively consistent with bars, you can start to polish them. A good place to start is catching with your throwing hand. Hopping higher, throwing earlier, and following the bars around in the same plane will all help with this. You don't want to overthrow because your throwing hand will need to travel farther to get back on the bars. You can of course throw faster, but that doesn't mean you have to put all of your power into the throw. Keep your hand moving once you throw and follow the bars around. For the intent of this tutorial, I have tried to emphasize staying pinched before the hop so you have one less thing to worry about when you go to throw. However, it looks kind of dumb to be rolling around with your legs pinched. Practice hopping and then pinching. You'll be in the same exact pinch position for both during the hop. You might find it helps to keep your feet pinched a bit before you throw. Overall, don't be afraid to change things up. Bar spins can feel stable if you fully commit to pinching and staying over the bars. If your bar spins don't feel good, try bussing, leaning back more, keeping your nose higher, or hopping higher. The more you commit, the better they'll feel. Hop bars are extremely fast. If you think you'll have time to process pinching, getting your body into position, thinking to yourself, I'm pinched, this is the perfect time to throw, and then actually throwing and catching the bars before you land, you unfortunately will be disappointed. The real trick to bar spins is to anticipate where you'll be and to trust yourself enough to get there. Repetition and confidence are key. Hopefully, following this how-to can help build your confidence. It is up to you to get the repetition, so grab your bike and get tossing.